Hey lovelies, welcome back. So today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how to make these cute little snowflake resin coasters. They're pretty simple to make and I think they'd be kind of like a great holiday gift or just a cute gift in general. So I had a lot of fun making these and I hope you guys enjoy this tutorial. But yeah, let's just go ahead and get right on into this tutorial. Alright, so for starters you're going to want to protect your craft table, so I just use wax paper just to put it down to catch any spills that may happen or anything. Another option, if you want something reusable, you can buy these silicone mats off of Amazon, and that way if you do have a spill or anything, once the resin dries you can just peel it off and reuse the silicone mat if that is something you're more interested in. Alright, so now I'm going to show you guys supplies. So first up, of course, you're going to need your resin. I use the amazing clear cast that I get from Hobby Lobby. Then you're going to need some latex gloves because you do want to protect your hands and it's not good to get the stuff on your hands, so make sure to use gloves. Then I have this measuring cup that I use to, of course, measure everything out. And I do mark the outside with like a Sharpie or stuff because I found that when you do pour resin in these cups, it will kind of get foggy and hard to tell where the line is. Then I just use a plastic cup and, of course, just a popsicle stick to stir it up. You can use reusable cups, but I just find they're more of a pain to clean. Then, of course, you're going to need to wear some sort of mask, like a respiratory mask. This is not quite the exact one that you need to wear. You need a better one, but it works for me. And also make sure when you're mixing and stuff that you're in a well-ventilated area. I like to have a window open because it is kind of toxic fumes, or there can be, and you just want to make sure that you're protecting yourself. So I highly recommend wearing one of these. Alright, then you're going to need your silicone mold. Now they have tons of different shapes on Amazon. This is just the shape that I chose to use. Then you're going to need some tweezers, some ribbon. I have the snowflake and then white lace ribbon. Then you're going to need a lighter to help pop air bubbles. You'll also need some toothpicks and a pair of scissors. Alright, and let's get started. So grab your mold, and so I like to lay out everything before I pour my resin. So I'm going to go and kind of cut the ribbon, kind of get it to size to where it fits inside the mold. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them out. Alright, so now I'm going to take the piece that I just cut and go ahead and cut a second piece, and I'm just using the first piece I cut as kind of like measurements to get the exact same size, because I layered the lace. I cut out two and layered them. And now I'm going to cut one piece of the snowflake ribbon, but first I'm going to trim the edge here because it wasn't exactly straight. So I went ahead and trimmed the edge first just to kind of get it straight as I can. And then I just cut one piece to fit for the middle. Alright, so now time to put on the gloves and get to mixing. So I'm just going to grab my measuring cup and the tools that I'm going to need, which is the cup, popsicle stick, and of course the resin. Alright, to start mixing the resin, I'm going to measure A first. Just a little info on this resin, it is mixed by volume, so you just measure them equally to mix them. I like to measure A first because A is so much thicker and harder to get a precise measure, whereas B is a lot thinner, so it's a lot easier to get that exact measure. So I just measure with A first and then do the exact same thing with B. Alright, now I'm going to start mixing, and basically you want to mix it until it is clear. You kind of see how it's a little foggy right now, so you just want to mix it until it is clear. Each resin will have instructions and everything, so just follow the instructions, but that's how I know it's mixed, is when it's all clear. They say to mix it slowly. I don't always do that. I just mix it. I'm not too worried about air bubbles, but if you do mix it faster, you will get more air bubbles. Alright, and this is what the resin will look like when it is all stirred together. And there is quite a few air bubbles because I got impatient and I stirred it kind of quickly, but that's what it will look like when it is done. So now I'm going to start by pouring a thin layer down first and kind of spread it around just so I can get the material to kind of stick to it first, because when you're pouring with ribbon or just anything thin, it does have a tendency to want to float to the top. So I find that it's a bit easier if I pour a thin layer down first, put the ribbon down, and then pour more on top of it. I am going to go ahead and grab my lighter and kind of pop as many air bubbles as I can. I will say be very careful doing this. Make sure not to get too close to the edge of your molds or you can burn your mold. And also make sure not to get too close to the resin because you can burn your resin and it will turn black if you do. Alright, so now I'm going to start placing the ribbon down, and I'm going to place the white ribbon down first. And I'm just going to use the toothpick to kind of put it exactly where I want it, and also kind of push down on it to get it to stick in the resin. So I'm going to place both the white lace down first, and then I will place the snowflake ribbon down next. And here is what it is looking like so far, and now I'm just going to go ahead and pour the rest of the resin on top of what I just placed down. Now I am just checking the edges with my toothpick, just kind of making sure there's not any uneven spots, and I did notice that I did not fill it up all the way, so I am going to have to mix a little more just to make sure that I get it all the way to the top. It is important to fill it to closest to the top as you can, because if you do not, the edges can turn out uneven, so it is important to try to fill it up to the top if you can. So as I was mixing the second batch, I noticed that there's some bubbles underneath the ribbon, so I'm just going to push on them. It is a good idea that if you put anything in resin, you have to always keep in mind about air bubbles, so it's always good to just push down on the material just to see if there's any air stuck under there, because if you don't, they will harden and then you will have air bubbles underneath there. So I'm just going around pushing all the material down because, like I said, it does have a tendency to want to float up. You can, if you want, do this in layers. You could pour one layer down first with the material, and then after it dries, pour another layer on top. I didn't want to do that this time around, but that will prevent things from floating up top. So I'm just going around with the lighter and popping any bubbles that I see before I pour in the next layer. So I did go ahead and zoom you guys in. Let me know in the comments or just leave me feedback if you prefer it this zoomed in. But I'm just trying to show you guys some of the air bubbles and seeing if you could see when they pop. I do these next steps for a while until it gets thick enough to where things aren't moving, because you do have to check up on the resin every now and then, pop the bubbles that float to the top or move the fabric around if it has shifted any, because it does shift every now and then, and push down any fabric that's floating to the top. Like I said, you can do this in steps, but resin does take about 24 hours to cure, so it would take about 2 or 3 days to make one resin if you do it in the 2-step process, where you pour resin, let it harden, and then pour another layer on top. But for this project I was a little impatient, just wanted to get it all done in one setting. But yeah, once the resin cures, this is what it will look like when it is done. But yeah, that is going to do it for today, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I'm going to just show you what it looks like if a cup is on it, just for size reference. But yeah, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you like seeing these types of videos, and also let me know down in the comments what you guys thought of this tutorial today, and leave me any feedback you have down in the comments. But yeah, other than that, I hope you guys have a wonderful day and a wonderful week, and I will catch you guys in my next video. Bye!